Big Sales National Football Show. Appreciate you coming aboard. Seth Joyner at 5:30 Eastern. Couple questions before I get to the minuses now of the Eagles as they get ready for camp. How many people believe that Jimmy Garoppolo will be an upgrade on Derek Carr in Las Vegas? Will he be an upgrade? He wins a lot. Kevin says it's a wash. Well, he's cheaper. Garoppolo wins. Carr doesn't. Derek Carr's kind of a version of Kirk Cousins, too, and Dak. A lot of numbers, not a lot of success. Garoppolo is 5-2 in the postseason. You could say whatever you want about Jimmy G. How about this? Garoppolo's 10 times more accomplished than Jalen Hurts. 5-2 in the postseason. NFC Championship game, 3 of 5 years. Has a 47-16 record as a guy that is a quarterback in the league. I mean, he's been in longer, obviously. So again, we're still early in the book that's being written about Jalen Hurts here. But he's accomplished. He's done a lot. He's won a lot. Hey, and you can keep going like this. Hey, man, he will throw picks. Okay, well, he throws the ball more. Really? So even Tone, well, I don't know, Sills. Is it a bit of a push? But again, Jimmy G's playoff success is a huge part of it. I think Carr's more talented. He is. He is more talented. But how many times do we see talent not fulfill the destiny? Just because you're more talented doesn't mean you're a better quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is more talented than Tom Brady. But Tom Brady's a better quarterback. Josh Allen is more talented than Jalen Hurts. But will he have a better career? Yet to be determined. And so far, I don't know yet. Joe Burrow looks like he's on his way. I don't know. Boomer Esiason so much has done what Joe Burrow's done already. Consider Boomer one of the elite guys in the history of the game, and he's my friend. I don't. Just saying. Just because you have more talent doesn't mean you're better. Isn't that funny? I think that sometimes collides with people's opinions of people. This guy's more talented. Well, he's not better. He's not a better player. You want to hear something crazy? And again, a small comparison before we get to the minuses here. Do you know the only person to have a winning record in the postseason versus Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Michael Jordan is? Do you know the only guy to have a winning record in the postseason? Do you know who that guy is? Who would you guess that guy is? Just because you're pretty doesn't mean your wife marriable. That's right. Do you guys know who that is? Who's had the most success against all of those guys and a winning record in the postseason against them guys? Isaiah Thomas. And Isaiah had less talent around him. He never had really a number two. Joe Dumars, sure, okay. Isaiah. Would you consider Isaiah better than any of those other guys I mentioned? No. Doesn't matter, though. It's about winning. It's about winning. How many times do we see lesser guys, positions everywhere around? Like, would you look at Cooper Kupp and go like this? Let's compare him to Devontae Smith for a second. If you had to pick between those two guys as you wanted to build the wide receiving core, would you take Devontae Smith or Cooper Kupp? Who would you take? Which guy would you take? Devontae or Cooper Kupp? He's a good player, too. You take Kupp? good route runner, quick twitch guy, really good hands. I don't know, something about Devontae, though, that I'd take him over him. Because outside of that 1 year, I don't know, pretty suspect numbers. I mean, how about this? Not suspect numbers, but pretty pedestrian numbers. Hunter Renfro's got pretty good numbers like that. Had a super year. But again, 1 year doesn't make a career, Jalen. Or, excuse me, you guys. Like, I wouldn't consider Cooper Kupp to be better than Devontae Adams or Tyreek Hill or A.J. Brown or DK Metcalf or Justin Jefferson. I would not look at that and go, he's better than, I don't see it. I think he's good. Greasy Goes got banged up. What about the years prior to that? Again, everyone looks at that one season and goes, "Well, my God, this guy's he's unbelievable." But again, if you look at Kupp's numbers, Cooper Kupp stats here. Let's see, first year, 62 catches, 869. Second year, 40 catches, 566. Third year, 94 catches, 1161. Devontae. Fourth year, 92 catches, 974. Then, of course, the epic year, 145, 1947 in year 5. And last year, 75 with 812 catches. Outside of that 1 year, he's a dude. Those aren't special. Do you know today in the NFL with 17 games, if you average 1,000 yards, you got 56 yards a game. Is that great? Is that special? Are you paying a guy $25 million because he gets you 4 catches and 56 yards? You think that's special? What A.J. Brown did last year was special. Greasy goes, I'll take him. Go ahead. I'll take Hunter Renfrow. And how about this? Let me ask you something, Greasy. He'll take Cooper Kupp. Would you take Amendola and Edelman, or would you take Cooper Kupp? Who would you take if you wanted to win games? Cooper Kupp or Edelman and Amendola? Who would you take to build your wide receiver core? Who would you take? Tone, who would you take? Would you take, what core would you take? A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, or Amendola and Edelman? Or Welker? Who would you take? Well, the guys that I would take have superior success than the guys you have in Philly. Are you kidding me? One guy's an MVP in the Super Bowl. Those guys win ball games. The passer has to pass it. The guy has to catch it. Not one of those guys were drafted. You got 2 first-rounder or a second-rounder and a first-rounder. Okay? You take them. We'll agree to disagree. You go, well, they got Brady. Well, Justin Jefferson's got a guy who gets him the ball. They ain't winning. What happens in the playoffs? Those guys catch footballs. They don't drop them. There's no drops. Remember something. The most reliable position in the NFL is quarterback. Because if you don't have a good group that can catch the football in traffic, tough games, tight games, you're not going to win. And you can have all the talent on the planet, all the great quarterbacks on the planet. You could be Peyton Manning and have Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. So wait a minute, Tone. Let me put this out there. So let's make it even. Peyton Manning had Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne and Dallas Clark. Brady had Edelman, Amendola, and Gronk. He gets one of the four or one of the three. Oh, and by the way, he either had Marshall Faulk or Edgerrin James. And Brady one more. Both quarterbacks kind of comparable. Brady had the lesser group. Not one of those guys is going to the Hall of Fame except for Gronk. Get this. Here's something to think about when you guys are talking to me about receivers that are talented and so-called A-plus guys. Tom Brady will have not one guy but Gronkowski that he won Super Bowls with go to the Hall of Fame. Manning will have 4 players he played with go to the Hall of Fame. Edgerrin James is in. Marshall Faulk is in. Marvin Harrison is in. And Reggie Wayne will soon be in. And he won 1. And Brady won 6. With 2 dudes that weren't drafted and Gronk in the second round. It's because you got guys who have the first round draft choice tags and the big names. That don't mean you're winning anything with them dudes. Again, this talks about talent again. Keep telling me, well, that guy's more talented. And those guys were more talented than the guys in New England. Peyton won 2. He didn't win 2 with Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark, Marshall Faulk, and Edgerrin James. You might want to look back on that one, Derek. He never won with those guys. 2 Super Bowls. He went to 2 and got beat by the Saints. Okay? He won that other one in Denver. Those guys weren't up there. Oh, look at Tone pulling something out. Wow. Down in the apex, Tone pulls this out. Brady's an anomaly. Oh. What other quarterback receiver group has done what Brady has done besides Mahomes? Interesting. Huh. Boy, that must have been a high-powered offense in Baltimore with Rocket, what's his name? Rocket's brother and Anquan Bolden. Those guys, I mean, surely Shannon Sharp, but what a wide receiving group. Ishmael, Quadri Ishmael, Anquan Bolden. I'm not shitting on Anquan Bolden. I'll never see the inside of a Hall of Fame unless he's paying for it. Yeah, that's your bench that you're talking about. In who were the wide receivers when Joe Flacco won? I can't remember. Who were the receivers in Baltimore when Joe Flacco won? I forget. Who were the wide receivers in New York when Sims won those Super Bowls? Can you name me one? Was it Mark Jackson? Who else? I forget. Damn. Who were those receivers on those LT Giant teams? I don't even remember. I can't actually think of one. Huh. And who was on those Bucks teams? They're at, wow, another one. Well, it was the era of the running back. Okay, all right. So let me get to the other end of this. Don't forget, Seth Joyner will join us in hour number 3 at 5:30 Eastern time. We did the pluses as the Eagles had their first practice today. An amazing update from WIP's Elliot Spitzer, Polly Shore. It was tremendous, man. Just to keep everyone, in case you come in and out, we know some of you are new in and out here. He got a B today. Just, by the way, at the end of his semester, we're going to have a bell curve for Jalen, and we'll give him a grade according to Elliot Spitzer-Shore. So that's what we'll do. We'll give him a running grade on what WIP sees Jalen in his 6 of 10, 2 touchdowns, a lot of good runs, a lot of passes broken up. Jalen got a B today. Yeah. So we'll have a grade at the end of the semester. You don't need a blue book for this. So we're good here. Okay? All right. We did a lot of the positives. There's so many positives going into the 2023 season for the Eagles, man. But by the way, I would make this point to you, and the Eagles have so much going for them heading into this year. It's great. And when we're talking about the Eagles, we're not talking about here's the difference, guys. You're in a position now where you're fine-tuning. There's other organizations that are taking giant chunks out of the marble. You know what I mean? They're trying to mold their team, and they don't even know what it looks like yet. The Eagles know what they look like. They're here. And by the way, they know they left that game on the table in Arizona. They know they did. They let that thing slip away. They had it. They were a better team. They were a better roster. But they weren't prepared to win. I don't care what you say. Well, Jalen played right there. You didn't win. You don't get credit, like Tone says, for putting your name on the test. But they were right there, Sills. I know you were. Isn't that always the case when you're going against greatness? You're right there. But what happens? Just like the Seahawks. Just like the Seahawks. Why are you throwing that pass on the 1-yard line against the team that practices plays like that at the 1-yard line? And Malcolm Butler jumped the route, and he knew the play was coming. Because he had a key that they had practiced that Friday going into the Super Bowl. God, we were right there to win. I know. That's why they have 6. Because they're right there. I know. You know how many teams are right there? But why is it always that those teams win? Because they're better prepared than you. That shows you have to do uncommon things to be special. You just can't be great. Those teams are special. And their preparation. But Sills, we were right there. Our offense was right there. Special teams I know. Isn't that always the case? I know. Those are called off-ramps to Excuseville. That's what those are called. Excuses. That's what the off-ramp looks like. Yeah, but our special let us down our decoy. I know. All the failures Andy Reid had in Philly, that's not happening. That's not happening now in Kansas City. I'll tell you one thing's for sure, what Andy Reid's doing in Kansas City. Andy Reid in Kansas City is maximizing Patrick Mahomes more than he maximized the talent he had in Philly. Because there's no let-ups and there's no slip-ups in KC. And it doesn't matter what that roster looks like, as long as they continually challenge Mahomes every year. Can't have excuses. Champions don't make excuses. They make results. Okay? You don't have excuses. Champions don't talk what-ifs. Have you ever heard of a champion talking what if? Hey, maybe if this happened and that happened and the turf was this and this shit and that and we had Brock Purdy and dude, champions don't talk like that. Champions go like this. That's why Jalen not being in that Netflix is a great thing. Because you know what those things are set up for? Excuses. Finding glitches in the armor. Getting out of routine. But we're going to get to that here in a minute, a little bit too. We're going to get to that. All right. Here are the minuses going into training camp for the Philadelphia Eagles. We did the pluses in the first hour, I mean. Okay? Here is the concerns going into the first practice today at NovaCare. The entire heart of the defense is inexperienced. It's a concern. And it'll be a concern for me. And we're going to bring Seth Joyner on in hour number 3. And I'm going to ask Seth Joyner this question. How long did it take you to learn the system that was being asked of you? And he played on Gangrene. And he was the captain of Gangrene. He's the guy that set the fronts. He's the guy that knew what he had to study. He's going to tell you what it takes to be an MLB, a middle linebacker in the NFL. And that's where we're going to start our classroom. And that's where we're going to start our homework, is with Seth telling us and tell us about the challenges that the coordinator and the quarterback of the defense has. Not ever working together, never being in games together, never watching actual game film together, not going over adjustments together, all of that. And I haven't even talked about his ability yet. Obviously, the Eagles believe he's got the ability to be in this position. He is the biggest question mark on that football team going into camp. And the ability for Desai to work with him. You got a first-year coordinator, kind of. He got a little bit up in Chicago. Okay? And you got a first-year starting middle linebacker. I don't know how you think that starts out on a positive. Okay? It's not a negative, it's a question. Okay? Sal Palantonio even said he's concerned about Dean taking over. Again, we're the first, I think, right, Tone, to bring up the fact a couple days ago, maybe 4 or 5 days ago, I think the biggest mistake that Howie Roseman made in the offseason was not bringing Edwards back. And to me, if they had Vic Fangio and you have a new MLB, I kind of would be cool with that. And this is why I think Desai was the third choice. And I think this was kind of like mop-up duty after the whole fiasco with Jonathan Gannon. Because nobody in their right mind replaces your quarterback and a coordinator at the same time. And a guy who's never played. Nobody does that. I've never actually seen that. Okay? JM goes, Patricia will help Dean. Well, then who's the DC? Patricia or Desai? So, who does Patricia answer to? Is Sean Desai really a coordinator? Okay, well, I mean, again, I'm not making an indictment on anything. I'm just saying, I'm pointing out the obvious. You guys, I saw somebody in the first hour goes, Sil's the king of the obvious. Yeah, well, every time I point this out to you, you guys go into a meltdown. You guys go into a meltdown. That's a problem. Or here, let me take that back. It's not a problem yet. It's a major concern. We haven't even seen it in action yet, let alone whether or not he understands and comprehends it. Hey, and just because you went to Harvard doesn't mean you're the number one surgeon at Harvard Medical. I don't care how smart he is. Can he play? And is he good enough to take all the intel in and understand it? How can you think he can understand it when he's never done it? Okay? I mean, Sills, Loki goes, Sills, I think you'll be walking these statements back in mid-November. Good. Okay, Loki, what statements? What statement is over the line? He's never started a down. He's now the starting middle linebacker in a defense that's going to be new to some extent because the new DC's in the building. He's got new personnel in front of him and behind him. What is walking back? What is walking back? Walking back what? This is not an opinion. This is what it is. On July 26th, walk what back? The truth? What kills me is you guys want me to make fairy tale statements about November. I don't do that. We are here today. The players in front of him, behind him, and Dean will dictate whether or not that statement is true or false, or if he's improved from July 26th. It's about the player improving from July 26th. Not my opinion. My opinion has nothing to do with it. Today on July 26th, he's inexperienced. He's never started it down. He's played limit. He's got a new defensive coordinator. He's got new guys in front of him and new guys behind him. Case closed. Case closed. Loki goes, he looked great in plays he was in. What, the 13? That's a dopey take. New coordinators on both sides. Concern. Every coordinator that's, you know what they're saying in Buffalo? Here, what's the take in Buffalo for the Bills? Somebody sent something to me about what the Bills are saying. Oh, here. This is what they're saying in Buffalo. Will the Bills take a step forward in year 2 under Ken Dorsey? Dorsey's got heat on him. They didn't like the way second half football was played in Buffalo with Dorsey being the coordinator. You think that coordinating changed from Dable to Ken Dorsey? Oh, I see. You guys change out your coordinators. That won't be a factor. Buffalo changes out a quarterback, offensive coordinator, and it's a problem in Buffalo, but not in Philly. How dumb. How dumb. You're not immune to the same comments that Buffalo is going through. You're not immune to that. Well, because it's Philly. That's stupid. So? You were a different football team when Frank Reich left. No matter what you think. No matter what you think. Dude, that's the comments going on in Buffalo. Hey, you think Ken Dorsey and the offense take a step forward? Well, I hope for my friend it does. Because if not, it ain't going to be Josh Allen that's going to take it in the shorts. It's going to be Ken Dorsey. He'll be fired. It could be. Hey, Ken Dorsey, in my opinion, I think it's a 50-50 proposition if that guy makes the year. Because if that team gets out slow, they'll change out. Look at what McDermott did already. Because his ass is on the line too. Okay? They got to start winning AFC titles. Get back to the Super Bowl. For this thing to be successful. Dude, you sign a check for $46, $48 million a year. You just can't show up to the parade. You got to be the main float in it. Okay? You just can't show up. Again, the new middle linebacker, I think, is a huge problem. How about this? I think it's a huge question mark. I'll take the problem comment away. And I'll put huge question mark because He's not a problem as of July 26th. That's my opinion, that he's a problem. So that's unfair. Okay? I can't turn around and tell you he's never played, he's never started, and call it a problem. Okay? I think it's an issue. So I think that's got to be fair. Okay? I mean, we got to be fair to it, to the process. So problems and opinion. Issue is truth when we're talking about this. Yes, Robert, Nakobe. Aging corner. And a cornerback in Darius Slay, who personally, this is an opinion. No, actually, let's start here with facts. He didn't play well in the second half of the year, and he didn't play well in the postseason, and he didn't play well in the Super Bowl. Those all became trends. 3 games is a trend. He trended towards the end of the season, not playing very well. And for whatever reason, because of name recognition and because of the success of the team, there's still a notion out there because, as usual, nobody really keeps an eyeball on the Eagles. That guy turned out to be a problem for the Philly defense in the end. He wasn't an asset. He became a problem. And his insecurity in the offseason magnified that because they saw them looking at Gardner Johnson and Bradbury more than him, and his ego got in the way. He wasn't even a free agent last year. And there was a report from Fox Sports and everyone else, including NBC, Philly, and everyone that said the Eagles were releasing him. Well, he jumped the gun on that. Probably saved his life in Philly. Got more signing up front money. Lowered his base, as we said yesterday. He wasn't a free agent, and he did all that. Talk about ego issues and talk about talk about insecurity. Because he knows he didn't play well. Okay? Tygo Sills just wants to talk about Slay. So you must think he really played great. He sucked in the Super Bowl. Yes or no? How many people believe that Darius Slay played well in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl? He didn't really have to do anything in the NFC title game. Christian McCaffrey was a quarterback. So how could you tell? Okay? The last month and a half of the season, he was terrible. That's not an opinion. Put the game film on. Look at the 22. Watch him. False steps, got beat a few times. But remember something, too, about that defense they played last year. They refused to play. For whatever reason, they decided to play some man coverage in the Super Bowl against stiffs like Juju Smith-Schuster, and they got beat. They're not man cover corners. That was the rub between Slay. Here, I'm not sure you guys know the rub. The rub between Slay and Patricia was because Patricia's a man coverage defensive coordinator. He thinks your corners, like I said before, Stephon Gilmore's 10 times the player that Darius Slay ever was. You know why? He's a man cover corner. He's got more skill than him. The 2 corners in Philly last year played center field. Get back, underneath. You didn't have to worry about it because you played shitty quarterbacks last year. Okay? That was the rub, why he got traded. But they're not going to do that again this year. So he's getting $15 million to play center field. And they tried that shit in the Super Bowl. Andy Reid had them guys out there running into one another. It was kind of like Keystone Cops. I thought I was watching a silent movie. Guys running into one another. Second half, they ran those crossing routes. The defensive backs in the secondary were so confused, it was stupid looking. And here's the issue, too, that I have with the team going into camp. I would say depth. Inexperienced depth. Jack Driscoll and probably Steen are going to be your backups in the O-line. Last year, it was Driscoll and Dillard. Did you upgrade or downgrade? Yet to be determined with Steen. I don't know. Driscoll just got a pretty good contract at Tennessee. You call him a stiff? No, I'm not going to call him a stiff, because if you don't start in Philly in the O-line, that's not a horrible thing. It's littered with stars. So if you don't start in Philadelphia in the offensive line and you're a good football player, okay. That's why he got that contract. Okay? They did move off him. Howie wasn't going to pay big money for a backup. And get this, Howie looked at it like this. So you weren't going to sign Driscoll or Dillard. You'd rather go cheaper with younger players, guy on a first-year deal, and draft a guy to replace Seumalo, and instead of signing Dillard. That's a decision they make money-wise, because if it were me, I would have signed Dillard and had Dillard play right guard. But for whatever reason, that didn't work out. That didn't work out, and they let both walk. Okay. You're not as deep now in the O-line. Seumalo is a great player. They let him walk for two inexperienced players on cheap deals or rookie deals, however way you want to look at it. Okay? Your defensive tackle. By the way, I'm not ripping him on not paying $20 million to Von Hargrave. Okay? Fair enough. Look, Hargrave, Quentin Williams, not remotely close. Not remotely close. Quentin Williams is 5 times the player that Hargrave is. 5. The guy with the Giants is a better ball player, Dexter Lawrence. And I saw the Eagles knock him off the ball a few times. I think Dexter Lawrence is a better player than Javon Hargrave. I don't think Javon Hargrave is a very good run defender. Okay? And it panned out last year. You guys weren't the best there either. You were below average. And now you've got more inexperience. You got a guy you're not sure in Jordan Davis. You got a guy who's never played in Jalen Carter, who I'm very high on. I like Milton Williams. Here we're all talking potential again. Ton of inexperience. We mentioned the linebacker. Ton of inexperience. Your safety position. Ton of inexperience. The entire heart of your football team has no experience except for Fletcher. That's it. And that won't be a factor. And your coordinator's new. Those are the minuses going into the playoffs. Bears goes, Dan, you think we hadn't made the playoffs in 20 years the way you covered the Eagles? Again, you must have missed it, Bears. Once again, I said this to you. Those are concerns. They have talent. The NFC blows. That's why I started out by telling you 13 of the 16 teams in the AFC have playoff rosters. About 7 teams in the NFC have playoff rosters. It's not deep. You can't have an off week, which means you're more prepared. You know, as many people think, and it's funny, they look at Russell Wilson. How many people think that Jalen Hurts could just go into the AFC with a lesser football team, with the money he's making, and do the things he did in Philly in the AFC? I do not. I do not. If you put Jalen Hurts on that football team in Kansas City, they might win 8 games, 9 games. You put Mahomes on that Eagle team, they're undefeated, scoring 50 a night. Scoring 50 a night. So you're telling me Mahomes never gets hit. He's got 2,000-yard receivers, and he's got a tight end that could also be 1,000. He'd throw for 8,000 yards. They'd never lose a game. And it'd be 30-point blowouts. Of all the quarterbacks in the league, I would say Burrow, Herbert, Hurts have a ton of talent around him. I don't really think that Allen has a lot of talent around him. He's got Diggs and who? Mahomes has nobody but Kelsey. Has nobody. And he has Reed. Okay? I mean, everyone's making this kid Pacheco sound like he's a superstar. He's a superstar because the quarterback is one of the great players in the history of the sport. That's why. So again, to Bear's point, he goes like this. You make it sound like we haven't made the playoffs. Gee, guy, did I point out anything that wasn't factual? Or did I put an opinion on anything? Where did you hear the opinion? The Slay comment about him running out of gas, his play dictated that. You lost experience at the guard position. That's a fact. You have to replace 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns in your backfield. That's a fact. You're young in the heart of the defense. These are all facts, my friends. This is not anything I'm making up. You want me to sit here like the majority of 99% of your Philadelphia sports media, ringing a bell, making it sound like everything is great. I'm telling you that this is going to be more of a challenge. I'm telling you they're not up. I'm saying this. It's not that they're not up for the challenge, but some of you are expecting 14, 15 wins. That's high expectations. You should temper yours. Do I think they can make it to the NFC title game? Yes. Do I think they have the best roster? You must not have heard that. In the NFC? Yes. But you don't have the depth you had. Your defense is completely new. You're not having 70 sacks. How many? Hey, let me ask you this. Oh, that's right. I forgot. How many sacks you have in a Super Bowl? Oh, that's right. It was the field. I forgot. I forgot about that. Right. I forgot the off-ramp excuse. It was the field, even though the Chiefs played on it too. And they had a sack strip and a scoop and score off it. I know. It must have changed over and flipped over for the Chiefs when they were on and they were playing defense and offense. They must have flipped the field when they were doing that. It's how stupid that sounds. It's one thing if you were playing one week and then the next week, you could kind of make the excuse. But when the same teams are playing on the field, don't bring that shit up. It's stupid. Okay? You sound like Niner fans. Well, you know, our guy here, this and that, you know? Yeah, sure. Chris goes, agree, Sells. 100%. How can we be better on defense with rookies? Look, it's a good question. Chris, here's where I say that you could be better. Could Javon Hargrave, again, this is potential talk. Could Javon Hargrave be a downgrade to Jalen Carter? He better be, and yes. Here, watch this. I'm going to show you all pie in the sky shit here. And then you tell me if this is wishful thinking. Will Jordan Davis be an elite player, which means he's not now? Will Jalen Carter be an elite player and an upgrade to Hargrave? Unknown. Will Nakobe Dean be an elite player? Unknown. Will your safety position have good players back there like a year ago, like Epps, and in the slot, CJ? Unknown. Will your right guard position be a problem? Unknown. Will your running backs make up for 1,300 yards? Unknown. Do you want me to continue? I don't know. And I didn't even give you an answer on any of that. I just named you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just gave you 7 things. And all 7 of those things you're going to need to beat Mahomes if you're going to want to win a Super Bowl. Do you understand where we're coming from? Bear goes like this. You make it sound like we haven't beat and been to the playoffs in 20 years. If you want to win a Super Bowl, dude, you've got to cover those things. One more time. You had the better roster. You had the deeper roster. 22 guys that started in September played in that Super Bowl in February, and you lost. But we were right. I know. Special teams play here, like Tone says. A scoop and score. Field shitty. Here. You want to sound like Niner guy? Field shitty. Scoop and score. Oh, you should have looked at the film a little more. I know. Special teams play. I know. Yeah, I know. It's a good point, too. Tone goes like this. Hey, dude, Sills, last year is rear view. That's why I haven't brought last year up. Except for this. You were more experienced last year. This year, it's a brand new chapter in the book of the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's a different look chapter. You were not the same team. How about this? You might be better. You might be better. Let me take a time out. Don't forget, our friend Seth Joyner is going to give us a classroom. And he is going to give us some lessons at 5:30 Eastern. Hit the like button. Keep it here.